Happy New Year. How you doing? I hope you're alright. I hope you had a good Christmas. Hopefully Santa brought you some nice things. I got this T-shirt. I like my T-shirt. Don't know if I can show you the back. I'll try. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you saw that or not. But yeah, I like it anyway. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Hey. Right. All we're gonna do today, it's just a Christmas review, looking back at all the racing. Got loads to get through. We're gonna try and get it done in an hour. I'm sort of busy away with tea, so I might pause you once or twice. Yeah, I don't believe we'll get it done in an hour, to be honest. But pack a flask or two. But I'm going to try not ramble too much. Yeah. So, without further ado, we've got so much to get through. All the way back to Monday, the 15th of December. It seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Nice. It was soft heavy on the hurdles track. 2 mile mares, maiden hurdle, old school outlaw beat Bambino Fever half a length. I think it were 11 length back to the third. Yeah, Bambino, she tracked old school outlaw down to the last. Paul pulled her out, but she didn't get past despite sort of staying on nicely to the line. I read, I don't know if you caught it, the owner did a piece in the Racing Post and it just made me giggle. Yeah, it made me chuckle that. He was just saying she likes her food, like she came back, she did very well over the summer and she just likes eating. And I just had this picture of like, you know, coming off the lorry at Willie's sort of thing and this big barrel of a thing there, like, you know. So I'd imagine she's going to improve plenty for this, and she'll improve run to run through the season. I think she'll come on a ton for this. I think Gordon's winner's pretty smart, and I think she'll turn it round. I'd be pretty confident she'll turn it round with the winner next time they meet, which may be Cheltenham. Um, I really like her for the mare's hurdle. I think this kind of, you know, takes the Supreme and the Turners out of the equation. I think it'd be the mare's hurdle. You know, she's been there and done it at Cheltenham. I really like her. I like her that, but this is how close I come to backing her. I think she was 4-1 the other day, but the 4-1 were disappearing, and the only place I could get on were hills, and I can't get on at hills. But there is a shop, you know, it's a 15-minute drive away. But I thought I'm going to go and back her, like, you know, I'm getting my notes together for this video, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be on her at force. I got there, the fucking shut, haven't they? It's closed down. So, and then the day after, she was 7-2 everywhere. So the thing I think with her though is that she's going to improve run to run. I expect she'll be impressive next time. So she's going to be out again. She's going to be impressive. So I think don't jump off the page as value 7-2, but I'm that close to taking it. To be honest, I am. But I guess she'll only be going to a maiden next time, won't she? You know, if she'd have won this, she'd be going Solarina. I'd imagine the winner will be going Solarina. I'm not sure they'll put her in that now. So she's going to be going to Cheltenham just after winning a maiden. We kind of know she's good anyway, don't we, from last season? But I don't know. I think the 7-2 may be worth taking, but it don't scream value, does it? You know. Not back to just yet, but it's probably the closest I've come to backing anything we've seen over Christmas. Right, Friday the 19th of December. Ascot, it was soft, good to soft in places. 2 mile handicap hurdle, Dancing Lance beat All They Knew Ahead. We Let It Rain a further half length back in third. Let It Rain is the one I want to chat about from this. She was held up out the back, made the ground up kind of stylishly under restraint. Look, the winner, I think it's fair to say, between the last two, and her effort just sort of flattened out from there. You know, that understandable. She's been off for over a year. She got nudged up. She's got a marker 120. It was just nudged up to 123 on the back of this effort. I remember this mare last season. I think this was Dan's sort of big mare for the Mares Novice Hurdle, and she bumped into a horse called Friendship first time out. She were getting £6, I think, but she travelled up strongly there, and you know, Friendship had got race fitness on her. I'd have backed her to turn that around with that rival next time, and that horse is now rated 146. Yeah, it's progressing away like, but I think she's thrown in off this handicap mark. I think she'll come on loads for this. You know, Dan wants that trainer's title, doesn't he? He does. He's after the prize money. This were worth 8,000. The Betfair hurdle at Newby's worth 86, or it were last season. Expect her to be bang on for that, and that might be the next time you see her. I think she's got a massive chance in that. I do. Joyeuse were just rated 1, 2, 3 last season after 3 hurdle runs. This mare's the same. Big chance. Yeah, like her for that. Okay. She's got one horse, I think, to worry about, which we'll get to in a minute. Saturday the 20th, Ascot. It's good to soft in places. 3 mile, half a furlong, grade 1 long walk hurdle. Yeah, Imposed Toy beats Strong Leader a length and a quarter. Honesty Policy a further neck back in third. Continued his progression, didn't he, Imposed Toy? Widden quietly again. Lovely ride from Nico again, produced at the last one, Cozy. Honesty Policy ran a big race on his reappearance. He was closing the front two down in the last 100 yards or so. Both these JPs look big contenders for the stayers. I think the general consensus would favour Honesty Policy of the two. It's slightly shorter price, and that's understandable, but I'm not quite sure about that. You know, Imposed Toy went past him easy enough and was maybe just idling a bit once he gets to the front. But these are two big contenders for the stayers, and you know, I wouldn't really put you off either of them. Although what we saw from Teapot, I think they've still got a bit to go, like, to be honest. But yeah, the big contenders for the stayers hurdle they are. Monday the 22nd, Huntington, good to soft. Right, yeah. 2 mile Mares Novice Hurdle, Watumu beat Charisma a short head here. Now, if ever there was a lesson, you know, to think twice about backing a JP horse in a maiden, this was probably it. You know, she was keen again, but maybe a little bit better than she has been, so maybe she's learning in that respect. She came there swinging between the last two. Nico was at pains not to win too far. Got her in deep at the last, fluffed that, and just kind of ran out of real estate there to get her up. Yeah, this didn't look great. She's rated 127. We've followed this mare closely since she ran into Cashledale lad at Punchestown. We've had her down for a big handicap, this Betfair hurdle, you know, all the way, and she's going to go there with a big chance. She is. It's JP Henderson. She's rated 127. I'm sure that's like when you look at Castledale, like she's a nice mark, and she's clearly been primed for this. They took it out last year, the same connections with her mare. She's off 127. I'd be very big that it's either her or Let It Rain in that Betfair hurdle. I would. I'd back them both if prices allow. I would. I'd maybe just slightly favour Let It Rain. I'd be like maybe 60-40. Okay. Yeah. And if you can get even on the early shows, like I don't know, we'll see what prices we get, but I'd like to get them to one side for that race. She's still a novice, so if she were to win there, she could go Mare's Novice Hurdle. She could end up being a big contender there. She could go to the county. I think she's had 4 runs over hurdles now. Yeah, so a Betfair will be the 5th. So she could go on to the county as well. But yeah, I'd take note of those 2 mares for that race. Okay. Right then, on to the 26th, Boxing Day, Stephen's Day. Aintree, Good to Soft, Idaho Sun beat My Daddy Paddy just over 3 here. Bubble Burst, you got to stay for My Daddy Paddy. There were only 5 hurdles here, they took a few out. That didn't help because he jumped so well, and he did loom up looking the winner turning in, but Idaho Sun stayed on well and kind of looked like he just dragged the finish out of him. Idaho Sun ran well at Cheltenham last year in a bumper, reportedly didn't come down the hill great, so that would be a little concern, I guess, and probably got sort of place claims there. In the Supreme, My Daddy Paddy is a nice horse, but for Supreme, probably not after this. Down Royal, yielding on the hurdles track, good to yield in places. 2 mile 1 EBF auction hurdle, maiden hurdle. Los Blanco beat Dunlea Crystal 2 1/4. Just thought this were worth a quick mention. Been a little disappointing maybe Los Blanco, but improved here. First time tongue tie, has a mark of 122, has had 5 runs now. Stayed on well here after looking outpaced at the 2-1. Could well be a Martin Pipe contender up in Trip. Okay, so just keep an eye on him for the Martin Pipe. Could be a contender there anyway. Kempton, good to soft places. 3 mile grade 1 Quarto Star, Novice Chase, Kitsbowell beat Thomas Moore 2 3/4 with Wendigo a further length back in 3rd. Some horses just really take to Kempton, don't they? And I'd say this fella was one of them. He led all the way, jumped for fun, bounced off the ground. He looks like a King George contender, doesn't he? For later this year, 2026. Yeah, you'd imagine he'll be taking that race in. Watching him here, 8-1 for the Browns. To be honest, Wendigo hated it round here, as we thought he may, but he were beat less than 4 lengths at the line, maybe a little flattered there. He's 20s. Personally, I'd fancy Wendigo to turn it round with a winner here at Cheltenham. Kitsbowell, maybe more like an Aintree type. Yeah. But yeah, I think Wendigo, and the softer the better. I think 20-1's more than fair for the Browns. Won't put anyone off having a bit of change on that. 2 mile 1 grade 1. 2 mile grade 1 Christmas hurdle. Sergino beat Golden Ace 6 length. I think this is probably the most exciting horse in training, isn't he? He showed nil no ill effects from like his life-threatening whatever it were. He did everything wrong here. He were very fresh and well, weren't he? He were too keen. Jumped like a chaser, gives hurdles too much air, like, you know. I'd say this is the most exciting 2 mile chaser we've seen since Sprinter Sacre. He's so good that he's like 13-8 for a champion hurdle. Like, you know, I don't know. He could. There's 24 hours there. You know, maybe he could take out the champion hurdle, freshen him up, and then take out the champion chase. If you followed this horse in the past, ante-post, you'll be a little bit scarred like me, maybe, all over him for the Arkle last season. I'd be a little nervous about him ante-post. To me, you couldn't have backed this fella before we saw him after he nearly died. Now we have seen him, predictably he's quite short. Tricky one from an anti-post point of view, but he's the one to beat in the champion hurdle. If Nicky can keep him in one piece and get him there, yeah, he probably take it out. He's a far better chaser though. You know he is, but that's how good he is, this horse. Golden Ace ran well. She'd be better off at Cheltenham, and she'll have placed claims again. She will. You know, she'll be hard to keep out of the frame, I'd have thought. 3 mile Grade 1 King George. The Jukebox Man beat Banbridge and Nose. With Gaelic Warrior a further Nose back in third. I think Django Bay was just like half a length further back in fourth. This was some mad finish, weren't it? It looked the highlight of Christmas, and it didn't disappoint, did it? What a race this was. Sailor France set a fairly modest fractions up front, and they completely sprinted up the straight here. The Jukebox Man, I thought he had a bit to do against some of these, to be honest, but he was given a cracking ride by Ben Jones, and he kind of came out on top in a finish of bobbing heads. Fantastic jumper, this fella. He's got loads of pace. I think he'd be best suited ridden fairly aggressively in a Ryanair way, you know, but you got to have a crack at the Gold Cup after this, I guess, and you can't blame him for going that way. For me, they'll have to ride him a little bit quieter in a Gold Cup, and that kind of negates what's best about him, you know, that jumping. He was grabbed by Stella Story, weren't he, over 3 mile in an Albert Bartlett, 3 mile 2.5 in a Gold Cup. Yeah, I just think he maybe found wanting from the bottom of the hill there, you know. That's just my thoughts. But yeah, this was good, like, you know, and a big day for connections. Told Harry and all them. Banbridge loves this place, doesn't he? You know, Joseph O'Brien produced him in cracking shape here. Sean Bowie in cracking ride. I don't know where he goes from here, but he ran a blinder. Gaelic Warrior, he ran a huge race here. He did. He could have won this on another day. I think so I mentioned before about the ground, I think he finds this ground a shade quick. It's like he goes on it, but I don't think slower ground like slows him down. You know, he can just seemingly run to me just as fast when it's like soft heavy, and you know, I imagine they'll go Gold Cup for this, but as I mentioned, I did think he were kind of trained for this. I think he'll have been bang on for the day. So I don't know. He'll be a contender there in the Gold Cup. He will. I just don't see it quite myself. And look, as I mentioned, you may remember, I've got a bit of 33s just for a bit of change on him for the Gold Cup. You know, but I don't really see it in my heart of hearts. I don't. But yeah, he's a contender. He is. For me, I'm probably at odds with what I've heard from people. Listen to a couple of people. I thought Django Bay is the one to take from this for the Gold Cup. I thought he ran a huge race here. If you lumped on him each way, you'd be a bit gutted, wouldn't you? He got beat half a length and not collected. Um, yeah, he only beat half a length. He was the youngest of these. I'd say, I think he was like the least suited to this track. Out of the front four there. I think, right under Gaelic Warrior, Jukebox Man, Banbridge, I think they were all really well suited to the track. Not so much this guy, I don't think. I say with the youngest as well. He was closing all the way from the last, I think like a bit further. He did. Probably got up here. I'm personally, I'd say I may be at odds with some people. I'll just tell you what I think. I think he's almost certainly going to be the best of these in a Gold Cup. I do. It's 2 from 2 at Cheltenham as well. 8-1 after the race, I think is very nice. I'm tempted to go in again. We're on at 20s, but I am half tempted to just go all in on this guy. I am. I mean, he's actually short for the Ryanair. I'd be amazed if Nico got off him and said we need to come back in trip. Watching this, I think he stays. I guess if it did come like soft heavy at Cheltenham, then maybe the Ryanair would come into the thoughts a little. Factophile never really got going, but he kind of ran better than I thought when I watched it back. Probably didn't get home, probably didn't like the track. Some horses just don't like Kempton, and I think he was probably one of those. He's still got to have a massive chance in the Ryanair. I think he's 3-1 best price. It'll be a lump job again. Please gamble responsibly. The only thing I guess I'm just a little bit scarred from last year with Spillane's Tower, ran worse than Factophile, to be fair, in this, but it never kind of seemed the same horse since, and it'll probably be fine. But yeah. Leopardstown yielding in places. Still on Boxing Day, we're in 20 odd minutes already. 2 mile maiden hurdle, Ballyfad beat leader Dallier, nearly 10 here. I thought he was really impressive, this guy. He surprised me. I watched him in that bumper before and just had him marked down as like a typical Giggy's like staying type. Kind of shocked me with the speed he showed here. I weren't expecting that. He's unbeaten in a point-to-point 2 bumpers and a maiden now. I'd say he's improving rapidly. If you watched him in that bumper to this, yeah, he's on some upward curve, I'd say. Same side as Jasmine DeVoe out for Brian Baru. 3 mile point winner. There's plenty of stamina there in his pedigree. As such, I think the speed, the sort of pace he showed here marks him down as a top class prospect going forward. It does. Cheltenham, I'm not quite sure. I'd imagine he'll probably go 2 mile at the DRF. May end up more a turners type, I don't know. Or just one note of caution though for Cheltenham. He did adjust right at his hurdles. He could be a contender for Cheltenham, but when you're trying to pick between all these classy types for a race, just little things like that can make the difference. And I think for that reason, for Cheltenham, I'd be against him. But he does look a really nice horse going forward. Leader Dallier looked just a bit slow and ordinary, to be honest. But gotta say, plenty of Willies, plenty of Gavins and Henrys. Although Henry seemed to be getting in better form by the hour, like um, ran below, and it just makes it really difficult, I think, to assess the form moving forward from Christmas. Summer Gordon's maybe a little bit flattered because he's in such good form, and you know, Summer Willies, I'm sure are better than what we've seen, but which ones, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's just a bit messy, and it just makes it difficult moving forward, like judging the form. It wouldn't be a surprise if some of the form got turned around, from Christmas moving forward. Yeah, it does. It makes it. It just makes it a bit of a mess in my head, anyway. It's probably a bit of a mess at the best of times. Like 2 mile maiden hurdle, Murat beat Dr. Manil a nose. Doesn't tell the full story. It was just a mess of a race. This it were, you know. Great result for Connections and the winner here. Not big Connections. Nice day for them. He's a lightly raced 7-year-old, plenty of ability, but he's a bit leery, isn't he? Yeah. Dr. Manil, he was closing all the way to the line. He looks a nice horse, but he kind of looks slow. Up in trip, he could be really nice. He's one of them, and it's a reoccurring theme. Will this is true running or not? I'm inclined to think he's better than this. His form were working out nicely, but he's got to go to a maiden next, and for Cheltenham, you wouldn't have thought so. Like I say, it's a bit of an headache with his form, and like I say, some of Gavin's and Henry's as well. I think some of those ran below. Al Kairos was the one all the chat was about after this race, and understandably so. He's only a pony of a thing, isn't he? He is, but he's got some turn of foot. He's very fast. He was going to be really impressive here. He seemed to jump okay and just sort of got unbalanced. He's the favourite for the Supreme, or sort of kind of joint favourite. He'll be going to Maiden next, so he'll be going to Supreme off for Maiden. All his form's unyielding or better, just looking at his size, you wouldn't know if it came up sort of soft heavy, how he'd handle it. The last twice he completed, he kind of hung left, and he would kind of going that way again here, like hung left late on. Anyway, we're kind of going that way here. It'd been interesting to see how he'd have gone to the line from the last. He were impressive. I'm not sure for me for the Supreme. It's probably no, but you'd have to respect him. He got some turn of foot there, hasn't he? Just at the prices. No, for me. So just my thoughts. These he may hose up, Grade 2, 2 mile juvenile Narcisco Haas beat Adrian 11 here. This was impressive. He quickened up well turning in, gave the last plenty of air and hit the line well. He's like a big scopy type. You'd have thought he'd have come on plenty for his sort of stable debut, and he looked to here. Time was good. You can see him coming up that hill really well. He's top price 5-1 for the Triumph. The only thing is, kind of holding me back from backing him right now, is the second yeah, the second actually got a little closer to me than last time. Um, I mean, the second could be a nice horse for Ted Walsh. May end up like Boodle's type, or she may have shown her hand a little too much. I don't know. She could be a nice sort going forward, but yeah, I mean, she got a little closer here than she did the time before. And the question is really, has he improved past Mange 2? The market says he has. You know, these 5, she's 10s. I don't know. I'm inclined to think probably, but I think just we where the second horse finished here, that's just what's holding me back. I imagine those two will clash at the DRF, and we'll know more then. If you fancy this fella's going to follow up at the DRF, that 5-1 would be worth taking, I'd suggest. And he may well do. He may do. Just not sure. Not sure about much, to be honest. I had any bets for Cheltenham from Christmas, so yeah, just sort of mulling things over really. 2 mile, 1 grade 1 racing post novice chase. Romeo Coolio beat Irish Panther half a length. July Flower another 12 length back in third. If you want Irish Panther, this seemed like a very long running. It did. Romeo is a cracking chaser, isn't he? And to be fair, he kind of won it snug at the line. He's not really a 2 miler, is he? You know, but Django Bay weren't a 2 miler either. You know, he looks a little outpaced at times, but he's classy. Where does he go? I've no clue, to be honest. Listening to connections, like Gordon said, you won't see him at 2 mile again. Connections say he's definitely going to Cheltenham. That only leaves the Browns. I just can't see it though myself. You'd imagine the 2-5 at the DRF would suit him nicely, and you know Gordon's after this Trainers Championship, but that would be his 4th run of the season. You know, that's not really Gordon's style. I suspect the next time you see him will be in the Arkle. I think, you know, that's what I'd do. He may get 3 mile in time, but would you really want to like run the guts out of him at 3 mile as a novice? I don't know. I think you just take your chance in the Arkle and hope you get lucky, like, you know. I think personally that's probably what I'd do anyway, but we'll see. Irish Panther, he ran a blinder for the Hearties, he did, and kind of bit for pitching a little steeply at the last. He may have just got there in this. Romeo's top price 10s for an Arkle. This fella's 25s. You know, the Arkle's a furlong less. A furlong less, he was the winner here, weren't he? I won't put anyone offering a few quid each way on him at 25s anyway. He'll be going Arkle. You'd think Aintree would suit him really nice, but I suspect he'll be going Arkle. 2 mile bumper, the Morn Rambler beat City of Blinding Lights 3 1/4 lengths. They look to be plenty of like quality on paper, like loads of potential in this, and I'd say there's no reason to think any different after. The Morn Rambler looks a really nice type. He ran at a good clip this, and he stayed on strongly to the line and showed a good attitude here. You know, should make a cracking novice hurdler next season, and he's a nice prospect going forward. City of Blinding Lights were backed off the boards here, and he ran well. He looked a little bit leery though. He did. The same sire as King of Kingsfield and Mateta, you know, and you can see it, can't you? But he's got some ability if they can harness that. Premier Division would be beat 1.5 length further here than he was behind Keep Him Company. That horse took the closing bumper out of the meeting on the 29th, so that gives the form like a solid look, I'd say. There was some nice types in behind, Manila Machine, Out of Africa and Helden. Could all be nice sorts going forward. Yeah, it looked a nice bunch, I think, these. Limerick soft to heavy, 2 mile 1.5, rated novice chase. Mudan beat No Flies on him a neck. Yeah, not much of a race this, and that kind of reflected in the fact No Flies on him went off 5-2 after running no races for a while, like, you know. This were much more like it though, and it shows there's still a horse there. I think he were put up £4 to 120 after this. If you've been watching me a while, you know, put this horse in the 10 to follow for the specific purpose of backing him the first time he goes to Leopardstown. You know, he's ran his 2 career best by some way at Leopardstown, so if we see him turn up at Leopardstown, that's when I'll have something on him. I don't think he'll be quite up to that 2-5 handicap chase. He'd be rated a little bit low for that, I think. So I don't know if there'll be. I'll just keep an eye out for him, see if Connections find a race there for him. I just thought he was worth a quick mention. Right, on to the 27th then. Well, we're 36 minutes in. I'll have to pause you in a bit to get my carrots on. Okay. Chepstow, good to soft, 3 mile 6.5 furlong on Welsh National. Heighty Colours beat O'Connell 3. He's a fantastic horse, isn't he? What a horse this is. Heighty Colours, love him to bits. He's won at the festival, he's won an Irish National, a Welsh National. Once he gets into that rhythm out in front, it just feels inevitable, doesn't it? It does. He's took this off 154 up to 159 now. He'll be a big contender in the Gold Cup and the Grand National. He's a nice horse, he is. Yeah, and a good training performance to get him back on song, yeah. Yeah, lovely horse, I like him. Kempton, good. 2 mile, Class 1 juvenile. Maestro Conte beat Brave Guest 9.5. Very impressive, he looked fresh and well for this. He's not beat much here. I don't know if it was just because it was like Kempton on good, but he kind of looked more an Aintree horse to me, but that's probably why. You could see him going well in Aintree, you know. He's 10 to 1 for the Triumph. I'd say the right 3 at the front of the market at the moment. You've got Narciso Haas, Mange 2, and this Maestro Conti. 2 mile Grade 2 Desert Orchid, limited handicap chase. This'll have to beat Saint Seagull 10 here, hugely impressive. He's improved just the £43 this season for Dan, from 115 to 158. Does seem better going right-handed, and I think he's one Dan's keen to keep back for the Sandown meeting at the end of the season, should he need to fire a few bullets there, you know, keep a few if Willie's coming at him again. Leopardstown, yielding, good to yielding in places. 2 mile 1 beginners. Cargeese beat Lovely Hurling 14 here. Sad race this, yeah, we lost James's Gate. Always liked that horse, you know, he was talented, and it was sad to lose him here. As we got the result, Cargeese, she was just like left to come home as she pleased. She did it well, you know. The second were never really put in a race. Probably didn't achieve much here, but at the time looked decent. We kind of know how good she is already. She took a county out off 141. She was rated 152 over hurdles. She's took well to chasing. I think fences have maybe just knocked the edge off the keenness a little bit. and I think she'd be a big contender for the Arkle there at 10-1. Don't really see any reason. I know he's got the rocket horse, hasn't he? Um, but I don't see any reason why you won't run her in it too. I'd imagine that's where she goes, and 10-1's a little tempting, I'd say. I won't put anyone off a bit of that. Lovely hurling. He was wildly impressive in his maiden. Since then, it's fair to say he's been highly tried. He ran in a Grade 1 against Final Demand at Punchestown. He's ran behind Kopek, the Rocket, in the beginners. And he ran behind Cargeese here. To be fair, he did maybe find things happening a little bit quick on the ground at 2 mile. He never really put in a race. He looks like one for handicaps, doesn't he? He's rated 145 over hurdles. He could be a type for Jack Richards or whatever, but yeah, I think he looks a nice sort of handicap project. Okay. 2 mile 1, Grade 1 chase. Solness beat Marine National half a length, Mashborough another 2 3/4 lengths back in third. He's some trainer, Joseph. He is. He's clearly targets Christmas with his Grade 1s. He did brilliant last year, didn't he? Note to self to take note of that for next year. Great ride this by Sam. I thought he set the fractions. He got them bang on. I think this horse kind of took Connections by surprise last year, and I think, he was probably over the top by the spring. This time they've kept him back, so maybe he'll hold his form into the spring. Clearly loves Leopardstown, and he'll be back here for the DRF. However, he will do well to beat the runner-up here, Marine National. He surely would have won this without that shocker at the second. I'm just amazed that you can't believe watching that he's gone so close to winning this. He's still never won a battle, has he? Because he did come off it here, but you couldn't say he didn't really put his head down. He ran all the way to the line, I thought. He's a general 5-2 shot for Cheltenham, the champion chase. 11-4 365. It's just, to me, you couldn't back him ante-post, because if it came up heavy or something, you wouldn't fancy it. But granted, decent ground, he's the one to beat, and I think he's where I'd be siding. He looked good here, he did. I think bar Sergino, he's a standout horse in this division. Mashborough took the earplugs out here. He was very keen mid-race, probably wants to put him back in again, I'd say. He jumped better, still left. Yeah, didn't have the gears to go through that gap, did he? And kind of had to snatch up a bit. You could rate him a bit better than the bare result here. I put them earplugs back in, maybe throw some headgear on him as well. I don't know. Maybe go out in trip, but he would have to settle better than this. Slower ground could make him interesting, I'd say. Do you know, if it did come up soft heavy in the champion chase, yeah, he'd like that ground, and if Willie can just adjust a few things and get him right, you wouldn't rule him out yet, but you wouldn't be in a rush to back him at single figures, would you? But I wouldn't completely put a line through him just yet. I think on decent ground I'd give him no chance, to be honest, but if it come up soft heavy, I think it could be interesting at Cheltenham, depending on his next run, I'd say. 2 mile Grade 1 future champion novice hurdle, Skylight Hustle beat Carrickmore and Spruce by 5 here. Love Me Tender, another 3.5 length back in third. yeah, this turned out well for us. We probably got a little bit lucky there. I wouldn't be 100% though. I wouldn't. I don't see how you can be 100%, you know. But we probably did get lucky here. I'm sure Talk the Talk would have been trading odds on Betfair when he came down. He was like half a length up or so, but they were both under pressure at that point, and you never know what's going to happen between the last and the line when you've got two horses coming under pressure there. And Skylight Hustle did hit the line well, I thought, you know. They were the standout best two in the race. Skylight Hustle, I mean, when you back a horse, you're kind of watching your horse through a race, aren't you? And watching the race, I thought, this is the winner everywhere, this Skylight Hustle. But I wasn't really paying attention to Talk the Talk, you know. If you're watching that horse, maybe you were thinking the same. Um, Two out, Skylight Hustle just absolutely pinged it and showed some real gears, I thought, you know, to kind of sluice through the field. But watching it back, Talk the Talk also showed the same sort of gears there just to track him through at the time. I think Gordon mentioned about maybe going up in trip with this Skylight Hustle. I wouldn't be sure about that. I think this is as good as he is, and I don't think he's good enough to be winning a Supreme. I'm not sure about him up in trip either, though. And maybe that just says how much he regards Al Kairos, you know. Talk the Talk, yeah. So I'm not biased at all here. I'm not. It's been and done. It's done with now. We'll never know. And I do think he were the most likely winner, but you just don't know. I mean, he could have found plenty and won well here, but he could have maybe just flattened out a bit as well. You just don't know. I think it's dangerous to just presume that he were going to win it well, like, you know. But hopefully we'll find out anyway at the DRF. The Supreme looks kind of murky to me. I think if I had to back one now, it'd be the Nicky horse, the other joint favourite, I think. Second, Carrickmorner Spruce seems a much better horse when ridden with restraint. Sometimes she's been ridden prominently, don't seem to like that. Just, yeah, ridden with restraint, she was a lot better here. The Mare's Novice Hurdle, it could be run to suit her. She could run a big race in that, and maybe she'd be a place contender at big odds. Probably paid a little compliment to Bambino Fever here, though. You know, if you're thinking she's got place claims, you know, Bambino Fever put her away well. 3 Mile Paddy Power handicap chase, won by Favre de Champdou at 66ers. Yeah, we probably got lucky in the race before. Maybe a bit of karma here or something, I don't know, because as I promised, we're on back to normal. 55 to 1 on Betfair. The winner, I think this were probably his day. The second and third, I think, are kind of difficult horses to win with. They've run well here. Now is the hour in fourth. It'd be a horse to take from this. You know, beat 7.5 here. This will return to form for him, and he'd prefer softer ground. He's maybe got a big pot in him somewhere. Could be something like the Thyestes or something. Back to normal though. On this fella at 55 to 1. Love this horse. I weren't sure what to expect from him here, but he was going lovely, you know. Just jumping, travelling, lovely position. He fell at the third last, and I've watched it, and there were horses outside of him, and it just gave him as a nudge just as he was going to take off to jump, and I think, you know, it just kind of put him off balance there. I wouldn't have swapped him at the time. I wouldn't have. I mean, what he'd have found from there, I don't know, but there were nothing going better. Okay. What might have been that one? 2.5 mile bumper. Barnahash Mason beat apologise. Me writing muck away loving. Probably not, but yeah, my writing too poor. The one I took from this were Arcadian Emperor. He was fourth beaten 4 length. He just looks a gorgeous horse. He's stunning to look at. There's something about him I really liked. Typically, for a lot of Willies this week, he kind of got to 2 out and just sort of flattened out. I think he could be something. The same connections ran Factor File in this a couple of years back. I was a little tempted just to have a bit of change each way at 50 this on him for the bumper, you know. Like I say, a lot of Willies I think will improve a lot from what we've seen at Christmas. It's hard to know which ones, but certainly like the novices and the bumper horses, the younger horses seem worst of all, like, you know. But I listened to Patrick in a podcast and he was kind of saying the same about Heldon, which kind of stopped me a little bit. He's kind of a flashy chestnut, isn't he? And it were a stronger race, to be fair, that. But either way, I do think this is a nice horse going forward, this Arcadian Emperor. I do. I like them dark horses, you know. K Doty is a bit like that, galloping them sorts. Limerick soft to heavy, 2 miles 6.5, grade 2, Dawn Runs, mares, novice chase. Big Westerner beat J. DeGrugy, nearly 3 lengths here. Jesus, if I had better faith in Henry's form, I'd have lumped on this Big Westerner. I would have done, but I just didn't want to back one who was at a short price at that time. He seemed to got better form as the week went on though. Jumped great here, Big Westerner, strong stayer. I couldn't have her for the mares, but I think she'd have a fair shout in the Browns. I think that's probably where she'll go. I think that's where she should go anyway. She's 14-1 for that, and I'd give her a kind of similar chance to Wendigo. I don't think there's too much between those two. And she's 14s and he's 20s. Won't put anyone a little bit on her. Jade Grucci, yeah, I thought she hated fences first time up. I thought she'd come back to hurdles. To be fair, she was a lot better here, but she weren't as good as the winner. I'm still not totally convinced about her over fences. Difficult to know where she'll go, you know. Willie's would appear to have Dino Blue from Art Walsh and Spindlebury for Paul Townend for the mare's chase. She's yet to win a beginners. Won't be surprised to see her come back over hurdles and running the mare's hurdle again. Particularly if Lozzie goes champion, but would I think Jade DeGrugy could beat Woodoo? No, I don't, and I suspect Willie won't either, so we'll see. I don't know where she'll go. 28th, Leopardstown, yielding on the chase track, good to yielding on the hurdles. There you go. Right. So, you want to go out, don't you? She wants to go out. Just give me a minute. Sorry about that. I should be getting these carrots on as well. Where were you? Got loads to go yet. We're never going to get it done in an hour, were we? Keep going for a bit longer. I might do the carrots when she comes back in. Roast them, like, you know. 28th, Leopardstown, chase course was yielding, hurdles good to yielding. Lazada Star, impressive in the maiden, paid a handsome compliment to St. Bacco, who beat him well and heads to the Lawlers and Ace on Sunday. which is now called Ballymore, the Grade 1 there. 2 mile 5.5 beginners. Cocktail Divin beat Kiss Will Be miles here. Cocktail Divin is an horse I really like. He is, and he was very impressive. Jumped great, relished the ground and the trip, I'd say. Just a note of caution: the second couldn't jump, and the third didn't try. So the race kind of fell apart. But he were good here. You'd imagine a Moriarty over the same course and distance would suit him well at the DRF. Cheltenham, not quite sure he's crying out for 3 mile, and he's kind of one of them, like in between. They took the 2.5 away, aren't they? Kiswell looked to lack a bit of scope to me. Shuffle the deck project's going very nicely with him. You do need 4 runs for the Kim Muir, so maybe it'd be more the Irish national, but whatever, he looks a nice horse for handicaps. He does. Tracking him closely, we like him. 2 mile 7.5, yeah, pretty much 3 mile Christmas hurdle. Grade 1, Teapot beat Bob Ollinger 7, Ballyburn another 7 length back in third. I'd say this is the best I've ever seen Teapot. I thought he looked great here. I think he'll be the one to beat in the stayers. I do, as good as those JP horses are doing. I wonder if he's in slightly better form this year than he were last year, Teapot. I may side with him this year, on the day. Bob Ollinger couldn't really ask for any more here on his seasonal return. I'd be surprised if he won it at the age of 11. I couldn't have him, but if you like him, I won't put you off at double figures. Ballyburn, don't know, hard to know what to make of him now. Yellow Clay is in the bin. We were a bit worried about that first run, if that were going to do him for the season, and that looks the case here. Yeah, leave him alone, and next season, a bit like what happened with that Craig Dorning last year. He just tough race first time out, done for the season. He could maybe come back next year and be a horse again. 3 mile off Furl and Grade 1 Savills. Affordale Fury beat Iron Maximus 2.5, galloping another 3/4 length back in third. Huge credit to Connections for getting this horse back. Liked him in his early days. They displayed tremendous patience and skill in getting him back here. Great ride from Sam again. Got the fractions spot on. Always liked him. I kind of feel like this is the one that got away from me at Christmas, to be honest. I just thought his jumping were a bit sketchy the time before. But I kind of did the same with Lecky Watson. I didn't think he jumped well in his prep before Cheltenham last year, and he jumped like a bunny at Cheltenham. And then he fell the run after. But he jumped well here, although he were persistently right. He always looked to be galloping and travelling strongly, though. Being honest, I feel like this was his day, but he's fully entitled to have a crack at a Gold Cup, and he's a contender there. Iron Maximus looks in rude health, could have maybe got a bit closer here. You'd imagine the National will be the big aim again, although he may take in the Gold Cup. Galloping, ran a massive race, he did, just turning in, he looked the winner, didn't he, and then just maybe for a little bit after the last as well. Understandably, the first run back, he's got to have a massive chance of taking out that 4th Irish Gold Cup, and yeah, they'll be on him for that. Okay, even if it's just a little token bet, but we'll be on him for that. But I don't know, he may be putting quite short, I guess, so it may be just a small bet, but I'd say Willie will have him for fairly bang on for that. I will. Gold Cup for me, no, but I won't put you off. You know, remarkable horses can do remarkable things. I'd personally have to be against him being 10, but you know, Sprinter Sacre, I were against him too and he did it, so what do I know? Bob Ollinger, no, I couldn't have him and he did it, so yeah. I know the way you're thinking, beat 41 here. He only beat 15 last year. I get the bringing him along slowly. I didn't think he'd win this. Drifted wildly out in a betting. I cashed him out for the Gold Cup because the bookies only pushed him out to sixes. So, you know, I lost virtually nothing by cashing him out. I did let a double run because I got him in a double with final demand at sixes and him at fives. Left that on. I may reback him again after the Irish Gold Cup, you know, but you want to see him run a better race there. I wouldn't just put this down to, like, yeah, he got 25 lengths closer last season, so, and he weren't trying then either. So I think there were maybe something more to that. Like I say, plenty of Gavins are still not running great. Saying that at the same time, he'd be the main reason I ain't gone all in on Django Bay. Just if he runs a nice race and gets beat sort of 5 or 6, 7, 8 by galloping in the Irish Gold Cup, then I'd be keen on him again, like, you know, I would. 2 mile bumper, trying to speed through this because I need to get this tee sorted. I've got loads more. 2 mile bumper, Bentragill beat 9 Toes Tim, 4 1/4. Really impressive this. Jodie was on this one, weren't she? She won Bambino last year too, but you know, Patrick were down at Limerick. He's got a fat head, this horse. Could be useful in a photo finish. He were a bit keen and he kind of kept getting a little bit lit up. You don't want to see that for Cheltenham, for a young horse going to Cheltenham. So you want to see him lose that, but he did quick and smartly away once he was given the office turning for home. Put it to bed in a matter of strides. Willie likes this horse. If Willie likes him, we should probably listen. He's at a getaway. I'm not keen on that side. You get the odd one, don't you? You just get something in your head about, and I'm not keen on getaways myself. But Willie likes him. He should probably pay more attention to Willie, and he were good here. He shades favouritism now at 12-1 over Oh My Word, who kind of fell between the cracks with us, but he did look nice, didn't he? Limerick, soft heavy, 2 mile maiden. King Rasco Grey beat Shuttle Diplomacy, 2 3/4. Kaiser Ball a further 3 lengths back in third. King Rasco Grey, I've always been very taken with this horse. I really like him. Something like 250,000 as a store they paid for this horse. This is where some of the galloping winnings went. She paid about £6,000 off it here. They've given this horse loads of time, and he looked very promising in 2 bumpers like a year apart. He's just turned 6, and I think he's going to repay that patience. He showed a smart turn of foot at the end here. It stays nice. I'm not sure where he'd fit in for Cheltenham. I don't know. He could develop into Cheltenham contender for like either the novice hurdles. But I do just think he's a really nice horse. I think this is a graded class horse going forward. I think this could be a tidy little race. The 4th were well fancied. The second here, Shuttle Diplomacy. Disappointing since being beaten 3 lengths by Bambino Fever into 3rd in the bumper. Tongue-tied first time here and showed a lot more. Kind of ashamed they didn't save that for his handicap debut, but he's rated 1-2-4 and that may still be alright for him. He's an horse I'd keep an eye on. for handicaps. Kaiser Ball, a very impressive bumper winner. He's now trained in house by the Costellos. Was with Willie. Maybe, I thought the jockey maybe made his move a little too early here, and yeah, he'll win races, I'd say. 2 mile 5.5 maiden. U Proof beat King Books a length and a half here. U Proof far too keen the whole way round, and he had no right to win this. There should have been nothing left after the last. I'd say this marks him down as a bit different to be able to do that. The second was beat 3.25 by No Drama this end, who's like fours. It's probably a bit flattering to say this puts him 2 lengths behind No Drama this end, but still, like, he's 33s for the Turners, this fella. I don't think he wants to go up in trip watching him here. He were favourite for the bumper very early on last season. He were highly regarded. Had one run, kind of blew out, and they put him away. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back in trip for the 2 mile at the DRF, but Connections, I've taught the talk here. I'd imagine he'll probably end up in the 2-6 race, and then he could go either go to the Bartlett or the Turners. It looks more Turners type to me. He looks to have plenty of speed. Just got to get him to drop it and race properly, but I'd say he's very talented. I'd say these are 2 cracking prospects, these 2 horses. I wrote down they may go under the radar a bit, but there's too many clever folk out there, and they probably won't, but they're 2 nice horses. 2 mile 5 grade 1 Faheen, Novice Chase. Final Demand beat Gold Dancer by 8. I never felt watching him here he was the same horse. I think he will way off it. He never kind of came out of second gear, beat nothing, but I don't know if those gears would have been here that day. He didn't have anything to beat, so he kind of got away with it. So plenty of Willies weren't running right, and I think this was kind of another one, but he sort of got away with it just because of the weakness of the race. He's a natural born jumper though, isn't he? A natural born chase. His jumping's awesome, and he'll be going the DRF next, and I expect we'll see the real Final Demand there. At the same time, I won't be like steaming into him at evens, but we got a better price. We were on a nicer price. Jimmy Desoy, I said his form maybe hinted he needed to be best very fresh. Just with the way some of Willie's were running, you couldn't take that as red, but that's the kind of way it's looking to me. Donny, 29th, good to soft in places. 2 mile 4.5 listed Yorkshire Silver Vars Mares Chase, that's a mouthful. Spindlebury, she beat Telepathique 6.5. She's unbeaten, 5 from 5 over fences. Did make one bad mistake here. She's far too good for these. She's a grade 1 winner, but that came against Firefox, who's not a grade 1 horse, She's not ran against the sort of class of horses Dino Blue has, and I'd say that mare sets the standard still. But as you know, I've always loved Spindlebury, I think she's made for that hill at Cheltenham. She looks like she's got a bit more pace this year as well. She's ticked off that left-handed box now. I'd say she's got all the boxes ticked. I'd back her now. I would. 3-1 top price though. It's just, is that value? I don't know. I'd rather take like 5-2 non-run and no bet when that comes in. Surely she won't be much shorter than that. So she's like my selection for the mares, but I just, looking at the market there, you'd say she's probably the worst value out of the sort of front 10, so I like her, I do. She's short enough, but I'll back her. I will, just not at the minute. Okay, I'll probably back her at short, I suppose. 2 mile, Leopardstown. It were yielding on the chase course, good to yielding in places, and on the hurdles it were good to soft. 2 mile, 4.5, grade 3 mares hurdle. Woodoo beat Feet of a Dancer 2 1/4. Woodoo, you gotta love this mare. She's got a great attitude. Looked a little tap for toe round the bend, but came home strong. Looks tailor made for the mares hurdle. On that stiffer track this year, that should suit her well. Still a small question mark. We don't know how she'd handle soft, heavy ground, and Lossiemouth would be some rival if she bumps into her. Feet of a Dancer ran a great race. She's in the form of her life, and she made her work here. Yeah. I remember in the attempts, we had a big each way bet on her. 2 mile grade 1 December hurdle. Lossiemouth beat Bright Days a length. Cashledale had another 5.5 length back in third. Beautiful horse, Lossiemouth. I love her. She tries so hard, and everything were against her here. The ground, the track, and the trip. Maybe she did it well. She were hanging up the straight at Aintree on the ground, and I thought she were a little bit the same here. I think she'd prefer some dig. I think she were kind of dossing in front a bit. Brighter Days got to like a girth, and then she pulled away again close home. Champion hurdle, no idea. I don't know if she's going to go there or not. I don't. And if she does, will she beat Sergino? I don't know. Maybe last year were a chance, but I love her, and I am on her anyway. So I don't know if she'll beat Sergino though. If they do go that way, and or not, not sure. But I love her. I do. Bright Days said, look, she's run a fine race here. Conceding fitness, she'd have a great chance on the face of it of turning this round at the DRF. I think that's the day that she's been trained for. I think she'll probably go off favourite there, although maybe initially she'll be put in as second favourite. I've got to be with Lozzie though. I have heart overhead sometimes, maybe. We're thinking what I may do though, being on Lozzie for the champion already, is suggest maybe a double at the time on Brighter Days Ahead for the DRF and Lossiemouth for the mares. That could make a lot of sense. Okay. Amsterdam, yeah, Patrick just gave up on him in the end, didn't he? Just ran away with him. He did remarkably well, probably to be beat less than 7 in the end. There's some engine in there, but he's a complete lunatic, and he is. I couldn't have him on my mind for Cheltenham, but if Willie can get him sorted, then he's a good horse. 2 mile bumper to close the meeting out, keep him company, beat Passenger 4.5. Ultimately impressive at the line he were. He's unbeaten in a point-to-point and 2 bumpers. He's 16-1 third favourite for the bumper. I think this is Gordon's bumper horse, the way he's talking about him, and as such you'd think 16-1 looks quite big. Watching him here, the jockey, I thought were always kind of at him a little bit. He came home strongly. He's a nice horse and a top prospect. I just think he kind of relaxed the pace for Cheltenham for the bumper there. Although if it came up soft and heavy, you'd have to be very interested then. Right, I've just got to let Blue in. Gotta get on. Go on. We're nearly there now. Newbury, good. Good to soft place. It's 2 mile introductory hurdle. Manila Yoga beat Acts of Innocence 3/4 of length. Looked to kind of drag the finish out. Acts of Innocence a bit in receipt of £20 here. A nice ride, I'd say, on the winner. I think Paul took great delight. You know, he used to earn the runner-up, didn't he? Train the runner-up, and he got the better of that here. He was a bit lukewarm about him going forward. I suspect maybe this for the day for him, but he looks a nice prospect. Very hard to weigh up this form. I don't know. I mean, Act of Innocence could have faced some task here trying to concede the winner £20. At the same time, I don't think you could be backing him for Cheltenham on the back of this anyway. 2 mile 4.5 grade 1 shallow novice hurdle, no drama this end. Beat something, be just over a length. I had a feeling watching this, and going on the trainer's comments, I don't think he had him at his best here. He just thought he'd, you know, I think he can be better than this, the winner. I do like him. He's a big contender for the Turners as well. I feel like he'll maybe be a better chaser next year, but I could be wrong there. 4-1, not for me at Cheltenham. 31st, Punchestown. Nearly there. Chase, yielding to soft places. Hurdles, yielding to soft places. 3 mile beginners, won by Argento Bite. Yeah, it was just disappointing to see Ballygunner Castle fall 4 out and take out Slade Steel just as we were going to find out if Slade Steel were going to get the trip or not. It was his first try at 3 mile this. He's rated 147 and he could be interesting for handicaps. You suspect if he'd have took this out, it'd have been bound for the Browns though, so maybe they haven't got handicaps on the mind. But yeah, it'd be interesting should he turn up in one, say Jack Richards type, or even the DRF one. 2 mile 3 furlong New Year's hurdle, was it? El Fabiolo beat Glenn's Kiln 8.5. Yeah, he can't jump fences, can he, El Fabiolo anymore? So back to hurdles, and he looked great here. You'd think he should come on plenty for this, and I suspect we'll see him at the DRF at 2 mile, and depending how he gets on there, probably either go champion or the 2.5 at Aintree. Spillane's Towers over hurdles. They're probably going for the national win, but you know he's got a mark 163 over fences. I don't know what they're protecting there, but I don't know. I'm no trainer, but yeah, he may be going national, and we did like him. New Year, well, Cheltenham, good. 2.5 mile, Relkeel, Cabal, Damatan, beat Jinko Blue 5. Yeah, he just laughed at his rivals, didn't he? He's got tons of speed, this horse. Don't look like a stayers hurdle horse to me. He just looks too quick, doesn't he? You know, if he does stay 3, he'd be some weapon, won't he? But yeah, probably not for me. Fairy House yielding, good yielding in places on the chase track. 2 miles maiden, Plastilla Nation beat something, be 5.5. It was an egg and spoon race this, 1-16. She went off out. You'd imagine she'd probably go Solarina next. I'd probably prefer Gordon's mare, who beat Bambino Fever there, if that's where they both go. But yeah, you wouldn't know. 2 mile 6 grade 3 mares, Dino Blue beat, she could be anything 7. Went off 1-4 here. She left a big hole in the last, didn't she? She did. She made 2 mistakes last time and 1 at the last here. Just a little doubt, but she looked fine, you know, barring that, and she's the one to beat in the mare's chase. She is. I'll be on spin nubbly, just maybe sometimes a little high overhead, but I do like spin nubbly. I think she's just made for that hill at Cheltenham. Oh well, I'll be on her there. 2 mile 6 beginners, K Doherty beat Wingman 10. Always like Kay Doherty, jumps fences much better than hurdles. Lovely looking horse, screaming out for 3 miles. 33s for the Browns. I won't put anyone off, but you'd imagine maybe going to the DRF next and he may run into final demand there. But I do like the horse, and yeah, he's improved a lot for 3 mile, I'd say. Screaming out for it. Wingmen, he seems to be regressing with every run. You'd have to question his attitude, although maybe that'll improve once he meets handicaps, I don't know. Joystick, we really liked him on Chase debut. He was disappointing here though, last beat 63 lengths. His 2 wins did come on heavy, maybe he found the ground a bit quick here. He never seemed to be really travelling on it. And he's just one I like for handicaps further down the line. Keep an eye on him. Right, performance of Christmas then. I found this quite hard, but I may be a bit off here, but just on the things that kind of stood out to me a bit, Sergino, I gave number 1 to, just because he nearly died. He's like back from the dead here, and he looked like great. Possibly the best horse in training, I don't know, probably the most exciting to watch. Marine National I gave to number 2, even though he lost, because how often do you see a horse in a 2 mile race do that and then nearly win, He's a proper horse, he is a proper 170s 2 mile chaser. I gave number 3 to Iticalers, just like Iticalers. Top weight, I like to see these classy horses, in staying chasers, top weight, and give the weight away and beat everything. Great performance this, and good result for Connections. I would take note them 2 novices at Limerick are Willie's King Rasco, Grey New Proof. I think they're very nice going forward. And we're at the end, and I've got to get these carrots sorted out. Wife will be home soon, so tea looks like being late. Okay, if you got this far, thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. I'll probably have a little bit of time on Monday, and then we'll just have a bit of a sort of casual spin through the Cheltenham races then, and maybe a bet or 2 or something, I don't know, but we'll have a look through the Cheltenham races then, and just have a look at the bets we've got on and what we're looking at. We're not looking too bad, to be fair. Okay, so all the best then, thanks for your time, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, bye.